The Trump administration is vowing to keep up the pressure on Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad after firing a wave of missiles at a Syrian airbase Thursday night. The U.S. strikes were in retaliation for a horrific chemical attack last week that killed nearly 90 people. Margret Brennan has more from Palm Beach, Florida, where the president spent the weekend.
Of what was happening as it was happening.
The Trump administration was out in force, defending the strikes and ramping up a confrontation with the Russian patrons of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. National Security Advisor General H.R. McMaster.
Well, I think what we should do is ask Russia, how could it be, if you have advisors at that airfield, that you didn't know that the Syrian Air Force was preparing and executing a mass murder attack with chemical weapons?
This week in Moscow, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is expected to press Vladimir Putin on how his government failed to prevent the sarin gas attack.
I don't draw conclusions of complicity at all, but clearly they've been incompetent, and perhaps they've just simply been outmaneuvered by the Syrians.
Tillerson's message is that Moscow must enforce the 2013 deal it brokered to prevent Assad from using chemical weapons. Yet the Kremlin continues to deny that he used any poison gas. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley.
First of all, it cracks me up that Russia can say those things with a straight face. I mean, truly, it is amazing that they continue to cover for Assad.
Despite the war crimes allegations, the Trump administration is leaving the door open to collaborating with Russia against ISIS. And Tillerson will reassure Moscow that removing Assad is not its first priority.
Our priority in Syria, John, really hasn't changed. I think the president's been quite clear. First and foremost, we must defeat ISIS.
But as Ambassador Haley explained, Moscow must recognize that Assad should eventually step down.
Well, the regime change is something that we think is going to happen because all of the parties are going to see that Assad's not the leader that needs to be taking place for Syria.
The White House also denied that it is trying to eliminate North Korea's dictator Kim Jong-un. But a U.S. Navy strike group was dispatched to the Korean peninsula Sunday ahead of an expected barrage of missile tests. Secretary Tillerson said Kim's patrons in China agree that there is little point to negotiations now.
President Xi clearly understands and I think agrees that the situation has intensified and has reached a certain level of threat, that action has to be taken.
As President Trump upends his America First foreign policy, he's also reshuffling his national security team, removing Deputy Advisor K.T. McFarland from that role. Elaine, it's not clear yet who will replace her.
Margret Brennan, thank you.